Bill had moved the adorable cider house into its position on the village green, and now he was hammering nails back into place that had come loose in the move. From it, volunteers would dole out steaming cups of warm cider to folks who would wander from shop to shop, while Victorian-garbed carolers strolled the village streets, pausing by the Victorian-style light posts to sing of holiday cheer and joyful celebration. Unless the village Scrooge ruined it all. That was a fly in the ointment this year, that the house behind the village green was now occupied by Professor Evan Nezer, when in past years it had been rented out by various casual occupants who hadn't cared what was happening on their doorstep. Jaymie hoped Nezer didn't cause them any grief. Bill tethered a rope to a hook at the peak of the booth's roof and pulled it taut behind the booth to a spot in the middle of a line of tall pines. Billy followed and handed him his hammer as Josie returned to Jaymie's side. Bill raised the heavy mallet, ready to pound a wooden stake into the ground to anchor the line. A man bolted from among the pines and confronted the handyman, grabbing the wooden stake and throwing it through the open booth toward the road. Jaymie let out her breath, holding Josie to her side with one arm. Her wish hadn't come true.
"You've got no right to infringe on my property!"
Evan Nezer shrieked, literally hopping mad.
"Hey, now. You shouldn't be throwing that, especially not with kids around."
Bill stepped back and let go of the rope, gesturing toward his grandson nearby and Josie with Jaymie. Nezer's property, on which his big Queen Anne historic home stood, abutted the Queensville village green. That green space had always been used as public land, central as it was in the village, within view of the Queensville Emporium and across from a small public paquette that was separated from other homes on the street by groves of trees. The Nezer property line was thought to be the line of pines in front of it, but there was no actual indication, no fence or barrier. Red-faced, fists clenched, the property owner hopped up and down twice as he faced the Queensville handyman.
"I don't care who's around. You can't use my property. Get off!" "Now, Mr. Nezer, it's just a peg to tie a rope to keep the cider house stable. Nothing more, I promise."
Bill Waterman, calm and good-natured, loomed over the other fellow. His grandson had retrieved the stake and handed it back to his grandpa, who still held the mallet. Nezer, who had longish, silvery hair, a trim beard and mustache, and brushed silver-framed glasses, would have been distinguished-looking, if not for the choleric expression on his face.
"I don't care. Cease and desist,"
he demanded, his cheeks scarlet.
"This moment."
The villagers who had been decorating were attracted by the shouting. Dark-haired Cynthia Turbridge, owner of the cottage shop, and flame-haired Jewel Dandridge, proprietor of Jewel's Junk, whispered together, joined by their shared employee Petty Welch. Gracie Klausner stood in the Queensville Emporium window, arms folded across her chest, and gazed out. Others, who had been helping decorate, stood in groups chatting and watching the commotion. Bill glanced around, passing one hand over his thin hair and beginning to look irritated.
"It's barely 6 inches on your property. You've lived here all your life and know it gets windy in our town in November and December. It comes off the river and sweeps through Queensville. Surely you don't want the structure to blow over. It could hurt someone."
At 6 feet plus, Bill was a big guy, but despite the fact that he carried a rubber mallet and a long stake, which was incidentally pointed right at Nezer, he meant no harm. He stepped forward.
"Come on, Evan. Let me—" "Don't you threaten me, Waterman!"
The man screeched in alarm and backed away. He held one hand out in front of him.
"I'll sue you! I will!"
Bill's eyes widened and he looked scared.